This story is about how creation's will compelled me, or I should say, pushed me off a cliff to actually surrender my conditioned will and walk the path that I was preaching prematurely before I actually embodied it. I was teaching principles 2 years ago of let go, let God, 2 to 3 years ago of let go, let God, and even other spiritual practices, but I wasn't embodied in them. I was teaching principles a year ago of to men to save their marriage when my marriage was actually still suffering from my lack of self-leadership and my lack of embodiment. This YouTube is now a journal of my transparency, because I've sensed into that to be invited on the path of creation's will, to actually surrender your conditioned will to creation, to quote unquote let go, let God, not in a religious context, but to live the will of natural order on this planet, in this multiverse, in this existence. I have to live in the full transparency of where I am with all the cards of my conditioning turnover, where I see myself so clearly and I see the illusion of the conditioned control, and then that there's only one narrow path ahead for me to walk, and that is my original design. That is my path. But I was invited on this path in 2015, when in 2012, 2010, I got Graves' disease. And I began my path to surrender back then. And my eyes were bulging out of my head 7 millimeters and fully cross-eyed, like one eye looking at the sky, one eye looking down. And I began to regulate my eyes again naturally, without medication, without doctors. The doctors in New York City, when I lived there, I was a creative director in fashion and advertising. They couldn't believe that I found self-healing without any medication. I dove into a somatic surrender. At that time, I see now it was only partial. I dove into a somatic surrender that allowed my body to have some regulation and reset the eyes somewhat, at least I'll say 75%. Still not fully to this day, so the disease is still in me. And through that intelligence that I actually started to gain through that experience, I was invited onto the path of surrender, to actually the path of truth, not just of the power of our own healing, the power of life intelligence healing as we unify with life, intelligence, not through the mind. I was invited to walk the path then in 2015. I even had a clairaudient transmission directly that was true and real. That was like, if you don't walk this path, you're going to regret it, literally. August 3rd, 2015, I remember. Another video on that another day. And as I felt the truth of that, I started to extract that intelligence, and that fashion marketing ego in me wanted to extract that and build an Instagram following from it. So in 2015, I started to be addicted to that Instagram image. So I started to build a false image of me as a spiritual teacher ahead of my actual embodiment. I realized actually that I built that false image of embodiment my entire career, even in fashion advertising. I'll speak about that too another time. But for now, I want to focus on all of this. It started to present since 2015. The dismantling of my conditioning began to be present, which is a gift. So you can begin to walk the path of truth untethered to your conditioning. But I acted like a victim to it. I started to hold the scaffolding up with any ounce of my will. I wanted to control my own reality, thinking that my mind in separation with life intelligence that's naturally unfolding to dismantle my conditioning, that I can hold on to it and control it. So the disease in me, the separation in me, still want to hold on to the separation. And there were so many instances of me pivoting my niche, previous relationships not working out and were toxic because of my lack of embodiment back then. Signs I was not embodied in the work I was actually sharing was already presenting itself, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, etc. And it wasn't until I met my wife, Amanda Lee, that I felt the truth of my lack of embodiment, because I actually met a fully surrendered woman. 1 second. Isla, come here. Isla, come. It's okay. It's the stick. Isla, leave it. Sorry, buddy.
It's okay.
Enjoy.
Yeah, you can.
Isla, come. Isla, come here. Isla, come. It wasn't until I met my wife, Amanda Lee, 6 years ago, invited her to visit me in New York City, where I actually felt the truth of what embodiment in a surrendered woman, in a surrendered person, human, actually feels like. And then back then, I extracted the intelligence from her. I even threw away the relationship and just, it was so terrible back then. And I extracted the intelligence from her, and I still didn't walk the path. That creation was like, great, here's a surrendered woman. You haven't been walking the path since 2015 to 2020. COVID hits the world. Here's a surrendered woman for you to now see yourself and walk the path together. And back then, what did I do? I tossed the mandolin to the side. I extracted the intelligence, and I just used the intelligence to benefit my self-image again in my work, in my program back then called Mastering Flow. But I still didn't embody it, so the intelligence was fragmented. It still wasn't true. I wasn't fully surrendered. I was still utilizing my will to teach concepts of surrender. And I started to see, actually that's a lie. I didn't start to see that lack of embodiment until everything started crumbling around me. Creation was like, that is not possible. You can't teach principles of truth without being embodied in truth. And even when you're embodied, you don't need to teach anymore. I was invited to walk the path, not to extract from it. And that's what men do. We extract from the earth. We extract from women. We extract from this planet. Disembodied men literally have destroyed humanity and our society and are destroying this planet because of our lack of connection and disassociation to natural order, to the living intelligence of what's right in front of us. I'm disassociated from reality. I was disassociated from reality. And then 3 years ago, when I recognized that union with my wife was absolute, was truth, that we needed to unify, I finally saw the light. We unified, got married, and an embodied wife who's surrendered to true natural intelligence becomes the 100% mirror for her man, because that union is interdependent. There's an interdependence in the union where the woman surrenders to the creation's will, the God's will in the man. A man surrendered to natural order, and she can now embody her natural innate role as a woman on this planet that is nurturing, that is creative, that is community focused, that is there to build interdependent union community in the world, to lead interdependent community in the world. A woman can actually be a woman, not self-protect like a man, not self-provide like a man, not like modern society has hardened women and created women to actually have to take care of themselves in independence. My wife has surrendered her will to natural order as a woman. And immediately I wanted to make her independent. Even though I was teaching principles of sacred union, I didn't want to see my own reflection. I didn't want to see where I was out of order. I didn't want to see that she wasn't insecure. She was reflecting my insecurity. I didn't want to see that she wasn't weak. She was reflecting my weakness. I didn't want to see that her emotions were going up and down. She was a reflection of my lack of stability and consistency. I didn't want to see that that it wasn't her that's in scarcity. She's reflecting my scarcity because I'm creating an unstable life, because I'm actually living a life of a lie. I'm living a false image. I'm teaching principles that are true, but are fragmented because I don't embody them, which is the greatest sin. I was a false prophet. She knew I'm here for this truthful calling, but she knows that I'm here to walk the path first. But yet I was teaching it ahead of time prematurely before I embodied it. All of these creation through my wife, through my programs, through my clients, through programs going up and down, launches going up and down, finances going up and down, being very transparent. It wasn't like everything was kept moving forward, taking 10 steps back, 1 step forward, 50 steps back. Life was already showing me my disembodiment, and what I needed to focus on was just to be present in the moment and be honest and truthful where I am and no longer project a false self-image. But since 2000, well, for my entire life, I've done this. For my entire fashion career for 17 years in New York City as a creative director, I did this. The whole industry is built on it. That's not an excuse. Then I brought that into my spiritual mentorship career for 10, 11 years. False self-image again on Instagram, 130,000 followers, hundreds of thousands of views, up to 1 million views. All for self-validation without me actually walking the path. Selling the programs like tickets, but not actually walking the path myself. Ever since 2015, invited onto the path, still didn't walk it myself. Married to a surrendered woman. Creation's like, great, here you go. Partner together. Walk the path. Nope, let me extract it again. Everything had to be dismantled. Creation was actually showing me where the scaffolding needed to be dismantled in order for me to actually embody what it is I'm here to share, to actually embody and walk the path first of truth. Allow the embodiment to present itself. And it wasn't until now, 9 months ago, where I had to take a sabbatical. Creation had to force me to take a sabbatical. Where I kicked and screamed and I didn't want to see it myself. Where finances, after you stop programs for that long, keep in mind that I did make a lot of money back then, and I paid for my father's senior home, my mother's senior home, our home, and our expensive. That's a lot of overhead. In 9 months, everything's gone. We honestly have nothing left. I gave my wife what's left for her to give her some level of security. She's staying with a friend to protect herself from my insanity, waiting, knowing that I'm here to walk this path and waiting for me to self-initiate and activate my own embodiment. And now I'm here finally taking accountability and responsibility for myself to actually walk the path of truth in transparency, to walk the path of natural order, to walk the path of surrendering your will to creation, to God, is to walk the path of honesty, transparency, and where you are with all of your conditioned will, all the cards unturned. You see that every piece of my conditioning is an illusion, is part of the conditioned will of the world, and continues to spread disease in the world, in my life, in my wife, continue to degrade my wife, degrade our lives, create instability, not actually walk the path, the narrow path that's right in front of me. And my only way out is now my embodiment. My only way out is to actually walk what it is I'm here to walk, one moment at a time. And creation forges me through that embodiment, through my surrender, where now I can be an honest vessel of where I am and allow this forged moment to create the next forged moment. This is me surrendering my will to creation. I can finally be honest that I have been a liar. I have been disembodied. I have acted like a victim to my wife. I haven't been protecting my wife. A man also cannot act like a victim to his wife because there's natural order. Men are designed to protect this planet, protect the land, protect the communities, protect the women, protect the children. In doing so, if our wife feels insecurity or starts to react to our lack of embodiment, we cannot, as men, react to their reaction. They're reacting naturally because they're vulnerable in our self-leadership. They're reflecting where we're out of order. We cannot act defensive, deflective, or act like a victim with any tone. And I started to teach these principles to men 2 years ago without embodying it myself. Only now am I feeling the truth because everything had to crash and burn. I'm only surrendering now, honestly, not because out of choice, not out of my will. I had that opportunity in 2015. I had that opportunity 6 years ago with Amanda Lee. I had that opportunity in marriage 3 years ago. I had that opportunity last year. I didn't do it. I'm only surrendering now, honestly, vulnerably, because I'm on my knees. Because we're broke, we're homeless. The narrow path is right in front of me. Creation was like, this was it all along. To surrender my will to creation is to live in the embodied truth of where I am fully, untethered to my conditioning, and allowing creation to forge me one embodied moment at a time. Only through this transparency will I be forged into who I am to become through creation's will, no will of my own. This is my only way out. And it's the only way forward. It's the only reality that actually exists. Everything else was an illusion from my mind in separation. Everything else was the insanity of my mind in separation. And my devoted wife has been here all along. What a beautiful thing to have such a beautiful, truthful, honest, devoted woman that can reflect who I am for me to rise beyond the conditioning of the collective. And I acted like a victim to that gift. Creation gifted me a woman of creation to walk alongside of me, and I victimized myself to her. I punished her. I degraded her in the process, left her exceptionally vulnerable. All because I was honestly too weak. Now I move forward. Now I'm here. And now I have no choice but to surrender my will to creation. And now I will do it humbly and openly and invite it all in. Sending love. We'll see you in the next video.